dates on those. And Hartwell's Concerned Citizens of Vermillion Parish will be holding their meeting a week from Thursday, October 25th, 6 to 8 p.m. at the Vermillion Parish Library. Concerned Citizens of Vermillion Parish. And it's an open meeting, so you come talk what you want, okay? You decide yourself what you're going to talk about. And Stephanie is here to give you her report on monkey shines at the city level, well, city parish level, and beyond the smart meter end run they tried to do on me today. Okay, hit it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Parker, for the microphone. Hello, Acadiana. To all you beautiful, loving taxpayers, please pay attention. Pay attention and grab a pen because we have a mess here in Lafayette. I'm going to start off with a little tape for you wonderful people, viewers everywhere. This is incredibly important because no matter what race you are, no matter what gender, no matter if you're on welfare or whatever it is, there's people in our city hall that love your check and they love to take that check and that's your baby's dinner. And so they'll take it in tire fees, they'll take it in taxes and your electricity bill tax and your cell phone tax. So we're all being fleeced, no matter who you are. So please know that. Pay attention, please, all Lafayette police, to this clip because it's very, very disturbing. It's only about 2 minutes, but you were brought up in this. And so it is Mr. D. Stanley of Lafayette Consolidated Government saying that possibly you will go out and write tickets because of people's trash cans in the distance they are from the road. Now, police, I love you very much. I gave away a TSA flyer today. And you are trained to do more than collect trash and go out there and write trash tickets. It's an insult to me that he even said that because you are not worthy of trash. This is insanity, friends, and the fees on this. So people are just, they don't want your baby to eat dinner, a lot of people at these council meetings. Okay, so you're going to hear D. Stanley say teeth enforceability. He says the word teeth 6 times. You're his chow, friends, no matter who you are, what color you are, and how much money you make. And this is going on all over the country, and I'm sure of it. Okay, Mr. Editor, you can roll it. Pray, folks, write this down, and police, not my police collecting trash, please. I mean, writing tickets for trash.
Where if you don't, within 24 hours, bring your cart back either 3 foot if you live in the city or 10 foot you live in the parish, what kind of personnel do we have to go and put out fines if someone doesn't put out their cart? I don't, why is that established? And then in that, it says within 30 calendar days, then you're going to file a mortgage. I mean, the amount of the invoice shall be recorded in the mortgage office of Lafayette Parish, and then a lien can be, against the property. I need someone with either Public Works or the administration. I don't know who handled this, but to me, I don't think we have the personnel to have someone to go see in 24 hours if a cart's put up properly, and then who's going to fine them. It just seems very nitpicky. I'm just curious of why that's there.
Let me take a crack at it first. You'll remember when the complaints first came, the city parish president put forth the issues with this ordinance was that it did not have any teeth or its enforceability was difficult. And that the council indicated at that time, some council members, bring it to us and we'll put the teeth in it. So that's one of the things that's being done. Outside of the generic penalty provision of all ordinances, which are misdemeanors, and I would defer to Mr. Hebert, but as I recall, that could incur a fine of up to $500 a day and or jail time. Well, if this is teeth, then what would the generic teeth be in the ordinance? Nobody felt like that was appropriate. So we went to legal counsel, and that's the purpose of the discussion. What teeth the council decides to put in it. Mr. Bellard raises some significant questions, certainly regarding who will be the can police. Will it be the Environmental Services Division of Public Works? Will it eventually end up with the police department, although certainly an officer could take a complaint and presumably write a citation as he would for any violation of municipal ordinance. But you are now in the
Okay, Acadiana, that's it. And this is our chief administrator, Dee Stanley, to this administration. Now, Joey Durrell was not at last night's city council. I don't know where he is the last city councils he's not been around. Last night at city council, there was no Terry Uval. Last night at city council, there was no Tony Trammell. So, media, where's our mayor? Where are these people? I mean, if there's something wrong with their families, we'd like to pray for them. But, I mean, why do we write them checks if they're not going to be there once a week for a couple of hours, the media? Now, Lafayette, we have issues. People like to dine on your baby's dinner. They like feeding you, and now that we have an audit, we have a new audit here in Lafayette. Great. Tuesday morning I went because Dee Stanley was the chief administrator officer, was in federal court. Now, him and Chief Kraft up against a group of police officers. Well, I'm going to study my notes and I'll report on that later. But, I mean, we're in federal court, friends, and so now we have a new audit, which is going to cost us a whole bunch of money. Now, William Terrio, he asked why. He asked Miss Lori, you know why? Because Miss Lori Toops, the chief financial officer, because we just had an audit. And then Mr. Terrio, thank you, Mr. Terrio, fine council members. I miss you, councils and council members. And then he said, why did we do something wrong? Why this audit? And so now we have to pay for a lawyer from New York City, friends, New York, $750 an hour. And they hope that everything's just going to go smooth sailing. Now, so we had to hire this special lawyer, so say, because of Lafayette Utility Systems, because the government's now involved with the business. And so it's a hot mess. So Mr. Mike Hebert, the lawyer, he signed the contract right after the council approved it because we had $615,000 in our lawyer legal fee. Then now we're down to $10,000. So the council approved another $250,000. So on the council floor, not 5 minutes after the council, yes, approved, whoop, he signed it at night, right then and there. So, I mean, we're just going to pray, and we're going to love on each other, and we're going to whisper. We're going to tell people what's going on. And people that want to dine on our lunch, Mr. Dee Stanley, with all due respect, sir, that's enough, okay? Our police, we're not going to have them collect trash, A. B, the fees are exorbitant. High, and that's it. And I wish you all well, and just know you're being fleeced. And so call us, join my Facebook page, join my YouTube page, because I tell you things that you deserve to know. In media, how come you're not talking about the audit on 10 o'clock news? How come? But God bless you all.
Thank you, Steph.
Thank you, Mr. Parker.
All right. While we're doing a changeover, why is the IMF warning that there is an alarmingly high risk of a deeper global economic slowdown? Ask your candidates that, including the ones here in this district, this congressional district. Why is Switzerland preparing for major civil unrest throughout Europe? Why aren't people screaming in outrage about the fact that the U.S. national debt increased by more than $1 trillion for the fourth straight year this year? Should we be concerned that the U.S. government added more to the U.S. national debt on the first day of fiscal year 2013 than it did from 1776 to 1941 combined? Ask yourself these questions, folks, and ask yourself, do we truly live in a free country? That's a relative term. The freest country on earth, not even that any longer, okay? That's been proven again and again. Switzerland is the only country on earth never to have requested anything from the internet giants, Google, etc., by way of checking on their citizens. Understand that. Switzerland has never requested any information on their citizens from the big internet weenies. So, what does that tell you? Maybe we ought to all move to Switzerland. Nah. This is my country. We're going to fight for this one. By the way, I'm going to repeat while we're on Switzerland. The Kaiser of Germany, that was the head guy, the Emperor of Germany, was visiting Switzerland at a military exercise before the start of World War I. and he asked the Swiss militiaman, what would you do with your 500,000 man army if I invaded your country with a 1,000,000 man army? And the Swiss militiaman answered, well, we would shoot twice and go home. Think about it. Those in the New World Order community who have instituted the police state in this country and want to proceed with locking it down in this country, just remember, we outnumber you. We don't have to shoot twice and go home. A whole lot of us don't have to shoot at all and go home. But that means that some of us are going to have to shoot once. All right. Let me read Fred Reed's column, No Hope. There's no hope, I tell you. There's no reasons. We kid ourselves. In politics, we think we do things for reasons. We don't, except in the details. We do as we do because of what we are. We have wars because having wars is what men do. Reasons are only aftermarket appendages. Read history. Everywhere in every epoch, with only the occasional brief oversight, leaders come to power. Kings, tribal chiefs, emperors, presidents, and attack anyone convenient. Always, somewhere, there are wars, depending. The participants use rocks, pointed sticks, arrows, swords, tanks, carriers, or stratofortresses. These artifacts being mere details. A nuclear submarine is just a gaudier, pointed spear. Start where you like. Take Joshua. He attacked Canaan, conquered cities, and put the populations to the sword, men, women, and children. He wasn't the first and certainly not the last. Assyrians, Romans, Tamerlane, Genghis Khan, the Crusaders, on through Nanjing and Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Business as usual. Indiscriminate killing of whole populations is normal military procedure. Today it's thought proper to justify it in some way. Liquidating a city would cause the enemy to surrender. See, saving lives or something like that. This is feel-good twaddle. Humanity has acquired just enough moral sense to be embarrassed about the things it does, but not enough to stop doing them. Dresden and Hamburg were put to the sword, however you name it. Wars are no more than the product of free will than the path of a bowling ball dropped from a bridge. All of history is filled with, almost consists of men setting out with armies to conquer somebody. It's what men do. Men as distinct from women who would rather read a book or go shopping. The historical pattern is that men invent everything and build everything and then blow it all up and kill everybody. The wisdom of this is perhaps subject to question. Let me stop here and just mention that infamous Marine Corps motto keeps cropping up. Marines blow things up and kill people. Well, why are they proud of that? Ask yourself. And you hear this repeated by neocon buffoons who seem to think this is cutesy, and you people, like, they're our troops. No, they're not our troops. They're not mine. Okay? They belong to the New World Order crowd in Washington, D.C. They don't belong to me. They're not our troops. Why do you keep referring to them as our troops? They're not. Today, the United States is the planet's main predator in historical company with Hitler, Mao, Stalin, the British Empire, Napoleon, the French, Hitler, the Habsburgs, Ottomans, the Plantagenets, various Persians, thousands of men leading thousands of armies, all butchering and burning and looting. It is what men do. We're still at it. We think we have reasons. We're combating terror or protecting our allies from evil or disseminating democracy. No, actually. We're doing what is built into our nature. Empires expand like bubbles, collapse like bubbles, fight the rising new empires. The losses in lives and unhappiness and treasure far exceed anything gained, which is irrelevant. We fight because it's a biological imperative. We cannot not fight. This is unlikely to change. From birth, most of what we do is genetic. The terrible twos. Sexual jealousy, fear of the dark, the forming of warrior bands, the Marines, the Pittsburgh Steelers, little boys playing cops and robbers. When children reach adolescence, the girls become insufferable, the boys wreck cars, and each discovers an absorbing interest in the other. Why? We have reasons, but always the same reasons that come at the same age. The herd of independent minds, somebody said. The appeal of military behavior and paraphernalia is built in. Little boys like to play army, despite efforts to get them to prefer dolls to guns. In the slums, the adolescents join paramilitary gangs, the Crips and Bloods, the Vice Lords and Latin Kings, with uniforms. For example, black and gold football jackets. They have ministers of war, membership rituals, hand signs, and territory, and in true military fashion, they fight to expand their realms. We are as predictable as gravitation. Our morality is canine. Dogs are friendly and playful among themselves, affectionate with each other and with their owners, but unless extremely domesticated, instantly hostile to strangers. This makes perfect sense among animals that live in a cooperative group in a hostile wild. It is less practical among countries with nuclear arms. Humans differ little from dogs. Consider a man working with an intelligence agency in Washington. He may be a sterling fellow, good father, never kick the dog or molest the neighbor's children, doesn't shoplift, and in general is a good citizen. Tell him to do the satellite reconnaissance for the bombing of Baghdad, and he will do it without a trace of conscience, even though he knows the bombing will kill thousands of innocent people. He may speak of duty, patriotism, and any of various sorts of routine high principle. No, it's just the psychology of the pack, us against them. By nature, we care about our fellow dogs, but not about other dogs. Our instinct, like that of Fido, bends us toward easy enmity toward outsiders. Note how quickly Americans came to hate Muslims, who returned the sentiment. Even though, as thoughtful commentators have pointed out in exasperation, the haters usually know nothing about Islam, have never met a Muslim, or been out of the United States. Rationally, this makes no sense. It does make sense, though, for members of a small hunting band for whom strangers are usually intent on killing you and stealing your women. This innate hostility toward outsiders explains why all the desperate attempts to impose diversity don't work. People of different colors and cultures don't like each other. To point out that this is really, truly, seriously stupid changes nothing. It's how we are. When feminists speak of testosterone poisoning, they're exactly right, though they often seem to suffer from it themselves. Steroid chemistry trumps cognition. Through all time, young males have dreamed of becoming warriors. They still do. Note the gonadal popularity of war movies, of bloody video games, the reverence for Navy SEALs, as if they were another kind, and their air of inexorable force of nature invincibility. How many men have not fantasized about the night halo drop from 20,000 feet, ripcord in hand, or rolling in on a hostile target in F-16, pop and pickle and hit the afterburner, or driving a hot space fighter against Darth Vader's Death Star. Swerving, evading, closer, aiming. A professor at Yale might not admit it. He might be lying, too. Then there's the strut, also biologically mediated. The whole alpha male business of honor, pageantry, sword and codpiece, feathers and gewgaws. In nature movies, we've seen the male swamp bird wildly flapping his wings and waving his head around to impress the girl birds. Men are men, no matter their phylum, and women are as programmed as men. They go for the display, in our case, for the warrior. Maybe you were the best lance in a tournament before Edward III. Maybe you're a fresh-caught new Marine just back from boot at Paris Island, heavier by 30 pounds of muscle and killer cocky toward those sorry stay-at-home dweebs you left behind. Either way, the girls will be all over you. We can laugh at it with reason, but it works. Well, we are what we are. We do what we do. Therein lies the rub. Hence, we'd better become more of a Christian nation than we are now, folks. And of course, the women, look what's happened to women now. You see a TV movie or a television show or a movie, and you got these macho women running around in tight black fatigues with all kinds of garbage hanging off them, but just enough hanging off of them where you can still see they're feminine. Feminine? What's feminine about them? Hosing a bunch of zombies with a barely functional M16. What's feminine about that? Somehow they make them feminine. How does that work? What? Go ahead, you're on the air.
Tom,
Yo,
could you explain Sharia law?
can I explain it?
Yeah, and what it's about?
Oh, I can't really do it justice, but basically, it's the term for the rule that fundamentalist Muslims, the real hardcore, want to put over society in general. Okay, here you don't have any longer things like, well, people can't, the blue laws of the old days, which to some extent are still carried over, are an example of what Sharia law is. That you can't sell liquor on Sunday, or you can't even open your business on Sunday, which it used to be in this country, okay? That's the kind of stuff that would enter into Sharia law, only in a far greater sense. Sharia law is things like, well, women have to wear veils. Women have to be covered head to toe, depending, again, on how fundamentalist the country is. Men. The Taliban exacted a great burden upon everybody in Afghan society. Men could not shave their beards. They had to grow a beard. There were some ancient historical monuments in Afghanistan that were dynamited because they were idolatry. They weren't Muslim monuments, but they were monuments that were in place thousands of years before the Muslims ever came into existence. They were historical, archaeological treasures, but they dynamited them because they were belonged to another religion. Sharia law is not something that we will accept in this country. There's a lot of people that are upset, I get these things all the time, about one imam or another here in the U.S. calling for Sharia law. It ain't going to happen here, folks. There aren't enough of them, and there never will be. There'll always be some of us around to stop it. But plus, most of Sharia law is going to violate the Constitution anyway. So, again, the U.S. government's constantly, they've got their version of Sharia law. It's called the U.S. Code in their statutes. So it's a secular Sharia law in this country now.
Well,
That's
let
basic.
me ask you, the incident happened to that little 14-year-old girl where they shot her in the neck
Right,
and shot
right,
her in the head.
right.
Is that a result of Sharia law?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a Taliban. For those that don't know this, the Taliban shot I think she was 16, wasn't she?
14.
Or is 14-year-old, shot a 14-year-old girl in Pakistan who was advocating publicly on her website or YouTube or whatever she had on the internet. She was advocating and speaking out in essays that she wrote, etc., about the need for girls to receive an education in Muslim countries, specifically Pakistan, Afghanistan, etc., that area. And that's part of Sharia law also, is women are not accorded the same levels of anything that men are. They're not allowed to go to school in these countries, like Afghanistan used to not be. When Sharia law was instituted by the Taliban, women couldn't go to school at all, period. Okay? They were to stay at home, have babies, and cook. That was it.
And they're basically slaves for their men.
Right, exactly. And of course, you see carryovers to this when you hear about some poor girl here in the States is killed by her own family, by her own parents, because she violated some aspect of their so-called religion, okay, by refusing to marry somebody in another country that she'd never met, but her parents had arranged it with the boy's parents, etc., or doing something else even less important than that. They have killed their daughters over that kind of stuff. Well, that's all part of Sharia law, folks. This is what we're talking about. This is not nice. This is nasty stuff. Most of it. There's very little an Americans would stomach that's in Sharia law, as I understand.
Let me tell you, the reason why I brought this up on your program tonight is I have a foot nurse that comes by the house and takes care of my feet, because I'm diabetic and all that stuff. But I was mentioning to her about Sharia law and things like that, things that are going on in the world. She just has no clue. her husband's a professor at UL, and they have no idea, these educated people, about Satanists, about the signs of Satan, about a lot of things that everybody our group knows about, and she had no idea about Sharia law or what it even meant. She didn't say, what is Sharia law?
Mm-hmm.
And if a Muslim influence comes to this country, I said, you couldn't be doing what you're doing now.
No,
I mean,
no.
you couldn't have your own little business doing what you're doing.
What
They
she's
wouldn't allow
doing,
it,
what she is doing would get her stoned in more ways than one. Okay,
Yeah.
taking care of the feet of a man that's not her husband. Excuse me, that's one right there. That's a death penalty right there. Death
Yeah,
sentence.
that's-
With Mary Magdalene.
Yeah,
washed up
I mean,
Jesus'
Mary,
feet.
but she again, the early Hebrews were not under Sharia law. Okay, but a lot of stuff that they did that was allowed back then would be illegal under Sharia law. Okay, it would be stoning offense. Like
I look around, I see, you talked about the women in these little tights. That couldn't happen either in Sharia law.
What's that?
In these women wearing these bikinis,
no,
this
no,
stuff
oh, no.
that
What's
happens
funny-
in America.
What's
couldn't happen
funny?
under Sharia law.
What's funny is people that I've talked to over the years that have worked in Saudi Arabia, and there'll be these Saudi women, including the actual stewardesses on Saudi Airlines, okay? They can get away with doing this too. When they leave Saudi airspace, the women are all, Saudi Arabia has a benevolent, if you can call it that, form of Sharia. Women can't drive, they got to wear certain clothing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Well, on the Saudi Airlines, including any airline that the women get on, they get on with the traditional dress on. As soon as the airline crosses out of Saudi airspace, they change into Western dress. The stewardesses change into more stewardessy looking outfits. Okay? I guess they have big dressing rooms in the back of their planes to do that. I don't know where they do it, but the men, immediately after they cross Saudi airspace, they can drink. All right? There's no more restriction on alcohol when they've crossed Saudi airspace. So then they immediately order drinks. So not soda pop either, or coffee. Okay? So, I mean, again, the Saudis are, quote, enlightened, unquote, but they got the money they can afford to be. But these other poor folks that are locked into things like what the Taliban had in Afghanistan, yeah, the Taliban was bad. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Okay? But under the Taliban, the drug trade was next to nothing. There was no more growing of drugs because that's illegal under Sharia law. All right? Alcohol, of course, is illegal. And certain other things. The dietary laws of Islam have to be followed to the letter. Halal, I think it's called. Everything has to be halal. So you don't see any pigs wandering around Afghanistan, or didn't. I don't know about now. But all that stuff was...
I just wanted to
Okay.
kind of clarify that in my own mind.
Yeah, it's basically religion. It's their religiosity being forced on everybody in the country, whether it's got anything to do with what the government should be doing. Under our ideas, is that's immaterial. I mean, when you've got some of these people talking about this video that supposedly set off all the rioting in the Middle East, in the Muslim countries, some of their people, and some here, I heard that there were some of them here said that too, that their religious sensibilities trumped our right to free speech. Excuse me? Now this was allegedly a Coptic Christian from Egypt that published this piece that they had objection to. All right, it was a criticism of Islam. Okay, well, excuse me, he did it in this country. But then again, the U.S. government has done this stuff when they have turned U.S. citizens over to Germans and other European governments when those citizens did nothing wrong in this country, but it was wrong under the rules of those countries. Specifically, they criticized the Holocaust myths. All right?
That's like a Christian hiding in the closet when you want God to see you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, a lot of that goes on in these countries that have Sharia law, though, because the people they've seen they've seen the light, so to speak. What's that old World War I song? How do you get them back on the farm after they've seen Paris? Okay.
Yeah, really.
This is an old. This is one of the few things that the sociologists ever got right. When somebody gets out of their little bubble, they're being in the mountain strongholds of Arkansas or mountain strongholds of Afghanistan or Chechnya, wherever, they suddenly see there's another existence out there. Then it changes their attitude about where they are. This is why Joe Stalin and other dictators throughout history have tried to keep foreign influence at a minimum, tried to keep foreigners from coming into the country, etc. I mean, Stalin went to great lengths to keep any foreign tourists from going anywhere where they could influence the poor communist peasantry. Because, wait a minute, they might get the idea there's something better than what they've got with us. Okay? They might, we're telling them they're in a workers' peasant paradise. We're telling them they're in paradise. If they suddenly realize that, well, they're in a hellhole, not in paradise, then they might want to do something about it.
Like North Korea.
Yeah, North Korea is that's a good example. North Korea is a classic example of this. Okay? They've been basically closed off to the outside world for a long time. Because of that. They don't want the North Korean people to realize, wait, there's a better life out there. Okay? That's the one thing globalization has helped with in the world. It has helped these people realize that there are other things out there. There's other information, there's other knowledge, there's other understanding. But of course, fundamentalists rankle at this and will try and keep it at a minimum. Anyway, okay.
Okay, Tom.
Thanks, Sam.
Have a good night. Bye.
And of course, this was the reason the Taliban banned various things like record players and such. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Hey, Tom, this is Jerry.
Hey, Jerry.
I was watching a program earlier today, and they were talking about people who were trying to show the similarities of Islam and Christianity. They call it Chrislam. Well, at one time, these people said, well, the similarities are love of people, God and love of people. How in heaven's name can you love someone that you're going to murder because they don't believe in what you believe?
Yeah.
Another thing is, I want your listening audience to Google the following. Christians stoned by Muslims in Dearborn this year.
Okay. Christians stoned in Dearborn, that's Michigan. That's one of the highest.
Yeah.
That's one of the highest Muslim populations in the country. Is in Dearborn, Michigan.
That's correct.
Now, see, what they want to do is some of these people in these areas where there's large Muslim populations, they want to eventually out-babyfy everybody else so that they've got the electoral base, they've got the votes to institute things like Sharia law at the local level in these areas. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's if the people, if everybody else lets them do it, if their own people let them do it, they're leaving themselves wide open for a lot of trouble. And
Once you watch this, and you will see the police do nothing.
well, again,
it's horrific. What
it's-
happens to these people?
Yeah, it's part of this political correctness, though. It's the same stuff you're getting out of the media in a lot of ways, and there's been some direct assaults on truth when it comes to dealing with anything Muslim.
None of us down here have heard of this. I just happened to fall
right.
upon this
I mean,
video,
we've got-
and it's just terrible.
Yeah,
and that's not the only incident.
No, but again, we've got Muslims down here that are they're not doing the kind of stuff those people up there are doing. Regardless, though, they're obligated to speak out against this kind of thing. It's like speaking out against what happens in what happened in Pakistan when that young girl was shot, and to compliment the Pakistanis, they rose up. They had several very large demonstrations supporting her since she was shot. Okay? Now, there was already an incident in London at the hospital where she is, where they actually tried to nab her there. Yeah, they tried. I just heard about that this week. I didn't hear, it got hushed up. I hadn't heard any more about it. But some people tried to go in there pretending to be her family. Well, her family's still in Pakistan, for crying out loud. And they were going to pull her out of the hospital. Who do you think they were? So, again, the Pakistani people, though, the government and the people.
Keep up your good work.
Right. Thanks.
Good night.
Thanks, Jerry. But yeah, in this incident, the Pakistani government did the right thing. I heard the president of Pakistan this week talking about this. He's against what happened and has spoken out. I mean, he's made an enemy of the Taliban because of it. But yeah, I'm an enemy of the Taliban too. But I don't want to go bomb them into non-existence because, like I just read, how many innocent people are going to die because of it? I don't understand what you want me to say here, Stephanie. What's that?
Mr. Osborne last night at the city council called this new high-priced lawyer a deity. A deity. I cried last night.
A
I
deity?
cried in council.
Oh, that's why I
members-
didn't. You got to spell it right. Okay, called the new
Yes.
attorney a deity?
Yes.
You're gonna have to look at that again and make sure.
Yeah, no,
I
because
can't
three
understand
council
why
members, two council members said something about it.
Mm.
It was very disturbing.
Who is Osborne?
He's the man, I think, is in charge of the banks and where the money goes and how the money goes for those bonds.
Well, that is interesting if he said
He
that.
said
That's bizarre.
a deity, y'all. It's on Ustream. It is
That's bizarre.
disturbing.
That's bizarre. That is bizarre. Okay. What do we got?
18.
Oh, okay. One of the, did I mention how the healthcare law had increased the part-time workers? Had I mentioned that? You don't believe? A large percentage of this increase in jobs that has been touted by the Obamaistas, the Obots have said, see, our economic recovery is working. Because this last go-around, there was a surprising increase in the number of new jobs. Well, in reality, many of those new jobs were created directly because of the health care, the Obamacare thing, right? They're right. But what this is doing, it's spurring the growth of part-time workers. So companies are not replacing full-time workers with part-time workers, or they're taking full-time workers and knocking down to part-time status. Instead of replacing a full-time worker with one job, they're replacing them with two part-time jobs. So yeah, some of this, yeah, there were more jobs, but it's like we had talked about before. How many of these jobs are actually even temporary? We don't know. This is not being told to us. Caller, you're on the air.
How you doing, Tom?
Good. This is the other Lynn.
Yeah, you're right.
We got your
How you
namesake.
doing, Sam? How you
we-
doing, Sam? I'm coming to see you this week, man.
We got your the other namesake is sitting right here.
Huh?
The other Lynn is right here.
Yeah. No, there's something I completely forgot about, and when you said the word deity, it reminded me of something. Do you remember right after Obama got elected, either elected or sworn in the office, that Jesse Jackson Jr. said, we need to add a new chapter to the Bible? Oh, you remember that? Are you kidding?
No, I didn't hear that.
Yeah. You remember that?
No, I didn't hear that. I didn't know
Oh,
that he said
yeah,
that.
I remember. Yeah, oh, that's what he said. Jesse Jackson Jr. said, I'm gonna say it again. We need. He wanted to add a new chapter to the Bible, man, because Obama. Because of Obama.
That's
What's
interesting.
wrong with some of these nut jobs, man?
Well, that is bizarre. That is bizarre.
I completely forgot about that. You know, usually I don't forget things like that, but
Yeah,
you know,
that's
but there's so
interesting.
many
That is
fewer
interesting.
things, you know.
Yeah. Oh, well, but see, that reminds me about the swearing-in ceremony, okay? They screwed up the swearing-in ceremony. Even the so-called conservative Chief Justice didn't call them on it, and they redid the swearing-in private. And from all accounts, there was something about that was suspicious also. So Obama was never sworn in.
3 times.
They tried it 3 times.
And one was without,
One was without the Bible. That's what I thought was kind of strange about that. Anyway, there's so much strangeness going on, though. We're not going to worry too much about a lot of the strangeness and a lot of this. Come to the meeting tomorrow night, and you'll get what you need to be concerned about, folks.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna try to make it tomorrow.
This show, the
One other
purpose.
comment before I hang up.
Go ahead.
I don't know what Joe Biden was on, but I tell you what, sometimes I wish I had some, whatever it is, man. Try to get him on that second, dog.
Man, he has some good stuff, huh? That's what I heard. He was dancing all out in some of the clips. But as far as wasting my time watching any of it now, I'm going to listen to what the pundits say later. But yeah, we're here now with this show only to let you know there's a problem. There's still people out there that don't realize this country's in trouble. Well, I'm here to tell you it's in big trouble. And it ain't going to be turned around peacefully. So you need to come to the meeting to find out some of the stuff you need to do to make sure you get through the transition. Okay?
I don't believe you can be sure.
Do what?
I don't believe you can be sure.
No, you can't be sure, but at least you can try. That's what the good Lord wants us to do, is to try. That's right. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Tom,
Yo.
I just want to say this. Lynn called me or come to my house.
This is a dating service now we have going here. Okay.
Well, I lost Lynn's number.
Okay. All right.
Bye.
You heard that, Lynn. Thank you. You heard that, Lynn, huh? Sammy lost your number. Do we have to charge? Can we charge him for that?
Yeah.
We can charge. Okay.
1-900 number.
Yeah, we're gonna put a 1-900 number together for y'all to call, and then you can. Okay. Let's see. I'll make a note here about Jackson. I might look into that. Maybe not. Yeah. Okay. Well, where to go from here? Okay, there's so much going on out there that maybe this caller will give me a new topic or topic to go to. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, Tom. This is Carl.
Hey, Carl.
You were talking just a minute ago about that about these Muslims in different communities. That's happened here in Louisiana not too long ago. They had a serviceman went into a store, and he was refused to be waited on, and they told him to get out of there. And they had a big deal on that. They had the news went out there, and they took pictures of him and everything. And they were boycotting the store and parking in front of the entrances and everything.
And that was a gas station.
It was a gas station?
Yeah, it was one of those convenience stores.
Oh, convenience store, okay. Yeah, well, there again, understand it's their right to refuse service. This business about that the civil rights era foisted upon us, making people serve who they wanted to, was bull, first of all. But by the same token, the people have the right to boycott once they hear about this stuff. They don't have to use that store. Understand that, people. It works both ways. And it doesn't matter. It's like the stuff right now with this amendment on the Constitution, Louisiana Constitution ballot, about concealed carry or firearms in general. There, I saw some news reports today. Some people were upset about it because it was going to stop anyone from not allowing a concealed carry holder to carry a gun in that establishment. Well, that's not true. That's not true. If you've got a bank, it doesn't matter what the state law says. And there's some banks that have actually put signs up on the door. We want you to bring your gun in. Okay? Under state law, they may not be supposed to carry it, and so what? If a bank doesn't want you carrying a gun in the bank, then they can put the sign up, and you're not supposed to. If a grocery store, same thing. Okay, the proprietor has total control over the premises, or should have under the common law, but we're not under common law. But anyway, we can go with that for this kind of thing.
You were talking a minute ago about that the old blue law they used to have here.
Yeah.
Well, that went around pretty good there for a long time. In other words, till Kmart and Walmart moved into the area, and then they're the ones who fought that blue law that Louisiana had for years and years. But the person who, a lot of people don't know it, but the person who got that blue law enacted was N.P. Moss. The one that school's named after over there.
Yeah. Well, see, there again, that's an example of what Sharia law is. If you let religious considerations creep into the laws of the land, the laws of the area, etc., then you've got what basically Sharia law is all about, only Sharia law is in spades. I mean, it just goes nuts with that. But the blue laws are examples of these religiously oriented so-called laws that have no basis really constitutionally at all. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
Except
well,
that...
That's the thing. I tell you what, the way the United States is changing, they're talking about before 2020 that your whites will be a minority in the United States.
Well...
And if you don't have laws enacted like that, it's something... We're liable to fall on. You're liable to have a president or something that...
Well, again, though, this is why we fall back to the Bill of Rights, okay? The Bill of Rights is to protect the minority from the majority. Now, under democracy, you don't have Bill of Rights, okay? And, of course, our Bill of Rights has been so watered down and so bastardized by these rules that they keep coming up with that are not constitutional, but they still enforce them like they are constitutional. Right. And the courts keep going along blindly. No, they're not blind. They know. The courts know. The judges are so arrogant now at every level that, hey, they think that they're gods. Yeah. And they act like gods in their courtroom. It's not their courtroom, first of all, but they think it is. But that's because we're not under constitutional law anymore. We're under admiralty law.
Right.
Under admiralty law, by golly, everybody is treated as a vassal of the state. Everybody's a corporation. And you've got to do what they tell you because, for one thing, the admiralty law flag is in that courtroom.
Right.
And,
okay, Tom, I just wanted to I heard you talking about that a while ago, and I wanted to bring that up.
Okay, thanks, Carl. That brings up far greater issues, too, like we mentioned, that, hey, again, it's up to the proprietor, but he doesn't have to have any customers. His customers have their right not to go in there and to boycott. So, good. I'm glad you did.
That's what they were doing. They had all the entrances blocked and everything else. They couldn't really get on the property.
See, that kind of stuff, it's not really warranted. You can make your point with just pickets having a sign out on the sidewalk, on the public sidewalk. But as far as blocking somebody's entrance and not allowing, if somebody wants to do business with them, they should be allowed to.
Well, it was a local guy who was in uniform, and he had been home on leave or something, and he was getting ready to go back. And here's this guy is over there, defending this country and stuff like that, and they have the audacity to refuse him service, and I can see the outrage that people would have in that community.
Yeah, but by the same token, they can't violate the other guy's rights either. So it works both ways. Everybody's got rights. My rights end at your nose, and your rights end at my nose. And people have to understand this. The problem now is they've never read the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, especially the Bill of Rights. They've never read it. They don't know what's in it. You tell a congressman, what's the First Amendment to the Constitution? They're going to have to pull a book out and start reading it because they're not going to be able to tell you. They're not going to be able to give you even an idea of what it is until they read it for themselves.
Right. Okay, Tom. Well, I just had heard you in there talking about those things there, and I thought I would bring it up there. Good show. I've been enjoying it.
Well, thank you, Carl.
Y'all got that thing straightened out on why you wasn't on the air the first 20 minutes?
Yeah, we got it. It was a I call it a mechanical glitch due to operator error.
Okay, Tom. Y'all have a good one.
Thanks, Carl.
Catch you later.
Thanks.
Access denied.
Do what?
Access denied.
Yeah, access denied. Mechanical glitch due to operator error. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Okay, you brought up guns. Okay, and you have an amendment on the when you vote November 6th.
Okay,
Nothing about guns and the right of gun owners.
It's
Do you know
confusing.
anything about it? I don't. I heard an advertisement on. It was an article on TV3 News tonight. Some
I saw that.
Guy was talking about it. Explain this, please.
Well, what I'm going to do is bring a copy of it and what they're putting on the ballot in. I've mentioned this before. We've got somebody that's supposed to be checking on this, a constitutional lawyer. I want to get his opinion first before I discuss it on the show in detail. But here's where we're inclined to go right now with it. I've talked to several people about this, and they are in agreement. You vote no on anything you don't understand. Or if there's any question about it, you vote no, because you don't want it to become the law of the land if there's a question about what it means. And there is. First of all, the way it was originally published, the amendment that was passed by the legislature and signed by Jindal to be put on the ballot, because constitutional amendments have to be voted on by the people. All right. The amendment was this. Okay. Well, the actual ballot wording was going to be this. It was going to be something different. You've got a problem there. The people have to vote on the actual amendment. They can't vote on a summary of it, because then the summary, which has been voted on, could have the weight of law rather than the amendment itself. Because they didn't vote on the amendment, they voted on the summary. And from what I read of the original summary they were going to put in there, they didn't look the same to me. Okay? So I'm gonna get pull this out again, and we're going to talk about it some more on a later show before the vote, before the election. But right now, what it looks like is it's a no vote. Okay? Now, what people are saying, I know the NRA is backing it and all this stuff, but I don't care what the NRA says. All right? Because the NRA has been known to be wrong in the past. And part of the reason that they're wrong is because they ain't radical enough. All right? We're radicals here. Okay? And you can call a radical what you want, but I'll tell you what the definition of a radical is. One who wants to return to their constitutional roots. And the NRA does not. The NRA does not want to return to Article 2 of the Bill of Rights. They keep saying, well, we need to enforce the laws on the books now. Enforce them? Hell no. 99.9% of them are unconstitutional. So they go out the window. They're void for vagueness.
There are 21,000.
Oh, it's more than 99.9% of them that are unconstitutional. Of the 21,000, I guarantee you that maybe 5 are constitutional. Okay? So that's far less than 0.01%. So, Samuel, for the time being, don't make a decision yet. Unless it's going to, if the vote were tomorrow, I'd tell you, knowing what I know now, vote no. Okay? But there'll be people whining and crying about my criticism of it, but because they think, because the NRA says it's okay, it's okay. Now, the arguments tonight on Channel 3, and some arguments I've read in the paper about this, were bogus anti-gun arguments to begin with. It's like that former state police commander that they interviewed, the big guy, tonight on Channel 3.
Yep.
All right, his arguments were bull. Like I just said, that's why I made the point. If you got a sign outside your door that says no guns allowed, then no guns allowed. They don't come in that door with a gun. either concealed or otherwise, okay? If you want guns to come in, and if the state says, well, you can't have a gun in a bank, and the banker says, no, I want people, concealed carry permit holders, to have their guns in here, you can put a sign on the door, which they've done. There's some banks around the country that want people with guns in there. So, hey, it's up to the people, the proprietor or the owner at that point, among other things. We got to go. Thanks, Samuel. See you next time. You still? You're going.